You mother...
Welcome to another video. Aren't you glad it's that time of year when it's finally starting to cool off? So in today's video, we're going to be continuing with the safety modifications because like that's helpful for any situation that you're riding the bike in. Let me show you what we're gonna add. I mean, it's in the title. I don't know why I'm like acting like it's a surprise. Like, oh, look what we got to put on the bike. It's axle sliders and hand guards. Like I still keep them in plastic. We're just gonna have this bike like one of them old people's furniture. We're just gonna leave it in plastic. But these are like the frame sliders of a supermoto or a dirt bike in a way. We don't want the hard parts of the bike hitting the ground when it goes over and sliding on those. We'd prefer to have some controlled surfaces. Replaceable items, something that's durable and can hold up to a couple of those. And that's exactly what the axle sliders and hand guards are gonna do for us. Hand guards are often thought of as something to help, knock the brush and things that would run into your hands. They certainly can do that. But I think one of the bigger benefits is not snapping these stupid levers. Even a simple drop, you can bend or snap these. You can end your ride right there, just a simple drop. That's where the hand guard is so nice. It comes in there, gives you nice protection. In fact, the only downside I've ever really heard to hand guards is, oh, what if I go flying off the front of the bike and it breaks my wrist? Now, I don't often fly off the front of bikes, but the few times I have with hand guards, it was never an issue. Does it happen to people? Sure. Now the axle sliders will go literally through the hollow part of our axle right here and gives us this nice little hard point to slide on instead of just sliding. I mean, really don't want to slide on this. This is just good insurance. Kind of like our protection cage here. This is just good ways of protecting your investment. I don't know about you guys, but I plan to have fun with this bike and it's gonna get dropped a few times. Having things like a cage on it, skid plate, all this other stuff, always gonna be good. And this axle sliders and hand guards come once again from the same people since this, and the kickstand, that's T-Rex Racing. As many of y'all know, they had the bike for the first couple weeks, custom building all these parts because this was the first one of these they'd seen. So big thanks to them. These guys are awesome. Be sure to check them out. Let's start with the axle sliders. Those are so simple. Here's our front axle slider right here. You'll see it comes with a nice little rod. There's some screw-on bits. Want to unscrew those. These are the actual replaceable parts, the little crash knobbling things. One of the things you'll notice is that this is directional, and you can tell that because one of these has got like a little step in it. That little piece here, so we're going to simply just push that through. Look how clean that sits on there. From the other side, I can't see the rod. It doesn't stick through, but we have a long bolt here. If we stick it in, we should, it stops there, and we'll start screw that in. So I'll take a small Allen from the other side, hold it, and just snug it. It does not need to be super tight. That's part number one. We got our little threaded bits on here. And this guy, it's just threaded. It has a little jam nut, or like a little jam screw in there, so you want to make sure that's pulled back. And you just screw these on. Here's something worth noting. You see where the jam nut is? Stops from turning. It's up top. I'd prefer it to be at the bottom. Water and dirt and stuff that would get into this and soak down would just have a harder time if this was, had gravity working with it. So what we can do is we can unscrew this. First of all, you can actually see a little white mark, but that's probably right there is where the jam nut touches before. That could be a good indicator. We can also then draw a little marker bit right here. We can loosen this and turn this whole thing now. But let's go check the other side before we do that to see if we need to do the same thing. It's about right there. Just set these at the bottom. Yep, it's right down there. A 3mm. Snug this up. You don't gotta go crazy tight. I'm literally just gonna use that. It's not gonna go anywhere. Look at all protected here. One thing to keep in mind with stuff like this is that if I go on a trip somewhere, whether it's an adventure trip or I go to like a track or something like an off-road park, I need to remember to bring the tools to remove these. 2.5 Allens and a 3 to pull those apart. Because if you bring all the other tools and a spare tube to take the axle out, but you don't have the tools to remove the axle sliders, it's gonna be pretty silly. Let's move on to the rear. The rear one is actually slightly different. As you can see, the holes just go straight through them. You don't have one of those like aluminum thready pieces that the puck has to go on. A little simpler. I kind of like it this way better. Just like the front, one of these has got a little groove in it and the other side doesn't. This will only go through like this. That and there. Grab the other side, tighten it up. And because there's no like screwed in jam nut here, it doesn't really matter where this is sitting unless there's a preferred way you want it sitting. I'll just screw that in. I'm holding it on the other side with an Allen over here, 5mm. No reason to go crazy, just snug them up. That'll do what it needs to do. So when it comes to these hand guards, the first thing you'll notice is they say Bark Buster on them, but these are not Bark Busters, these are T-Rex. At least all the inner back metaling material stuff is. They just make it so that theirs fits the Bark Buster hand guards. These are made for the 300L. Now, you might buy hand guards for bikes that say that they're meant for certain bikes, but It's typically not the case. They're meant for, handguards are pretty much always a universal fit. And if you've seen me install handguards in the past, you know a lot of times it requires a vise, some bending, some pushing to really get it all to line up right. The handlebars, all these different setups can change how these fit. They're all universal fit, except for these. Now even if I were to change the bars, these are meant to fit the 300L. And you see here what's different is this end of it, where it mounts to the bars. Normally you got something like, here's a half of one and here's another one. You got something like this that bolts up and this has to link on there. The handguard, you just hope it kind of clears all the cables and attaches. But that's the thing they've done with these. They've made these where it really fits around all the controls. Even if I were to change handlebars, there is one downside to these. When I change the handlebars, I really want to switch to those. These Zeta mounts that mount to the triples. Revzilla sent me these. We're going to be installing these down the road. These will make it so that the handguards are much more rigid. They can't twist. The issue with that is because of this setup they made here, this handguard doesn't go down near as far as they normally would. I mean, the part that you want to protect you does, but normally this piece here comes out a few more inches, and that'd give you enough room to use those mounts. These actually won't work when we go to switch that other setup. Now, I'm still going to mount these and show you, and I'll run them until I switch the bars and do everything else to the other setup, which will happen very soon, but I wanted to show you how these mount. These are a really good option. If you're comfortable with the normal clamp-on ones, then these will be just fine. Let's stick these on there. One thing, unfortunately, I can't show you is what happened right here. They had to drill and tap the bar to put these on, because I guess the stock handlebars have got some sort of just weighted, filled in solid piece in here. They probably had to drill a hole. It probably pulled the grip off, drilled a hole in this that was a little bit bigger than this guy, and then tapped a hole into this, and then probably did the same thing on the other grip over there and just glued it back on. But the important thing here is if you're going to do this, you're going to make sure that this hole is bigger than their little end piece here, because you want to make sure that this throttle is always free spinning, even if this is on there. Sorry I can't show you that. If you've never seen how to drill and tap something, there is plenty of YouTube videos of that. We're going to unscrew this end, pull that little cap off. I'm going to stick it in my pocket for now. This guy just slips down in there. All right, I guess there's not enough room to actually slip this piece back behind here. Let me pull this screw out right here. I'm wondering, maybe there's enough room if I... okay, there it is. You just got to start down there with it. I'm going to reinsert my little cap here. Everything's just super loose, obviously, right now. You can see how this is going to clear everything over here. Our cables, our brake. I mean, anyone who knows who's installed handguards knows it gets really tight at times trying to get the mounts and everything to work in here and not run into the cables. So this is very, very convenient. And you need to figure out about where you want these to sit. I mean, this would be part aesthetic and also part sort of functionality here. That right there looks pretty good. The bigger thing is when you go to put the second one in, making sure that you get them even. Just kind of snugging this one down. And I'll snug these ones down. I'm happy where that's sitting. One here and one up here. Then we're just good to go ahead and snug them the rest of the way down. Yeah. Do keep in mind that these bolts are going into aluminum. Don't go crazy, these are steel bolts. But you want to make sure that we have free movement, which we do. Not interfering with our brake. Do the other side. Check it out, our hand guards are on, it's looking good. Crash bar, skid plate, axle sliders, hand guards. Big thanks to T-Rex Racing for hooking it up with all this stuff. Hey, since you've made it this far through the video, you know for just $1 a month, you can go over to my Patreon and help support this channel, keep this content rolling. You'll get an extended version of this video that comes out earlier. It's ad-free, censor-free, and you always come join me over on the Discord where we BS around every night till usually 1 in the morning. You know, one of the talkie chats, voice chats, that's what they're called. If you haven't seen the other videos in the series, be sure to go check those out. And yeah, I'm gonna go take this thing for a ride. Y'all take care.